Before the war, life moved slowly. People worried about work, weather, and family, not survival. Children ran through streets without fear. Shops opened every morning. Trains arrived on time. No one knew they were living in history's final moment of peace. In a small European town lived Johann, an ordinary man, neither hero nor soldier. He worked, ate, laughed, and dreamed quietly. Like millions of others, he believed war was something that happened somewhere else. Radios spoke of politics, newspapers warned of tension, but everyday life continued. Until one day it didn't. Uniforms appeared more often. Flags changed. Voices grew louder. Fear arrived softly, without knocking. That night, Johann stood outside his home, looking at the sky. It felt heavy, silent, waiting. The world was holding its breath. World War II was coming, and ordinary people would pay the highest price. Hunger does not arrive loudly. It comes quietly, politely, one missing meal at a time. The first shortages. At first, people thought it was temporary. No sugar today. No meat this week. Come back tomorrow. Tomorrow became next week. Next week became never. Johann stood inside a shop one morning, staring at empty shelves. The shopkeeper shrugged. "There is nothing," he said. "Not even hope." Ration cards. Soon, money lost its power. Paper cards replaced coins. Each card meant life measured in grams. Bread was counted. Butter was weighed twice. Mistakes were not forgiven. Johann folded his ration card carefully, like a sacred document. Losing it meant starving. The lines. People lined up before sunrise. Cold mornings. Wet shoes. Silent faces. Some waited 4 hours for a loaf of bread. Some waited all day and went home empty-handed. Arguments broke out. Fists were raised. Guards intervened. Hunger changes people faster than war. The kitchens. At home, meals became smaller. Soups grew thinner. Plates stayed half full. Johann's family learned new rules. Eat slowly. Never complain. Never waste crumbs. Silence replaced conversation at the table. Children and hunger. Children stopped growing. Their faces grew sharp. Their eyes grew large. They no longer asked, "What's for dinner?" They asked, "Is there anything?" Johann watched his neighbor's son faint in the street. No one was surprised. The black market. At night, whispers replaced sirens. "I know a place. I know a man." Food appeared in shadows, at terrible prices. A watch for a sack of potatoes. A wedding ring for flour. Family heirlooms traded for survival. Johann sold his father's coat. Winter was coming. Morality under pressure. Stealing became common. At first, people apologized. Later, they didn't. Hunger rewrote morals. Neighbors watched neighbors closely. Trust disappeared. Everyone feared everyone. The old man. One morning, Johann noticed an old man collapsed near the ration line. People stepped around him. No one stopped. By the time help came, he was already gone. The line moved forward. The shame. Johann felt shame more than hunger. Shame for thinking of himself. Shame for ignoring others. Shame for surviving when others didn't. But hunger silenced shame quickly. The lesson. Johann learned the truth war never teaches in speeches. Bombs destroy cities. Hunger destroys souls. By the end of the year, everyone understood one thing. In war, food is power, and hunger is the real commander. The letter arrived in the morning. Thin paper, official stamp, no warmth. Johann knew what it was before opening it. The order. He read the words slowly. Report for service. Bring essentials. Departure 3 days. That was all. No explanation. No choice. War does not ask permission. The house. Johann's home felt smaller that day. Walls listened. Furniture watched. His wife packed silently. His son pretended not to hear. Nobody cried. Not yet. The neighbors. The street filled with men carrying small bags. Some joked nervously. Some walked alone. Mothers stood at doors, pretending to be strong. Children watched, confused. The platform. The train station was chaos. Smoke, shouts, tears. Johann held his son tightly, too tightly. He wanted to say something important. He said nothing. Words that failed. His wife tried to speak. Her voice broke. She handed him a photograph. "Come back," she whispered. Johann nodded. Lies are sometimes acts of love. The whistle. The whistle screamed. Men climbed aboard. Hands waved. Someone fainted. The train pulled away slowly, cruelly. Johann watched the platform disappear. Then everything else. The journey. Inside the train, men sat in silence. No speeches, no songs, only the sound of wheels and fear. Each man wondered the same thing. Will I ever return? The aftermath at home. Back home, life continued without fathers. Chairs stayed empty. Boots remained by doors. Children asked questions. Mothers avoided answers. Letters from the front. At first, letters came. Short, careful. I'm fine. Cold. Miss you. Then letters slowed, then stopped. Silence replaced hope. The day fathers left, families broke quietly. No explosions, no sirens, just absence. The first bomb did not destroy the city. It destroyed the idea of safety. The sound before death. It began with a sound no one forgets, a low hum, growing louder, closer. Johann's mother looked up at the sky. She already knew. Sirens. The sirens screamed like wounded animals. People froze. Then panic erupted. Doors slammed. Glass shattered. Children cried. The city moved as one terrified body. Run! Johann grabbed his little sister's hand. Too tight. Too fast. People ran without direction. Some prayed. Some screamed names. Some just ran. The first impact. The explosion shook the earth. Windows burst inward. A building collapsed like paper. The night turned orange. The sky was no longer above them. It was attacking. The shelter. They reached the basement. Dark, crowded, stinking of fear. Dozens of people pressed together. A baby cried until the crying stopped. Nobody asked why. Bombs without mercy. The bombing continued, one after another. Each blast closer. Dust fell like snow. Someone shouted prayers. Someone cursed God. Waiting to die. Time lost meaning. Minutes felt like hours. Every second might be the last. Johann covered his sister's ears. He could not cover her fear. Silence. Suddenly, it stopped. No sirens, no explosions, just ringing ears and breathing. The silence was worse. Emerging, they stepped outside. The city was unrecognizable. Streets gone, houses burning, bodies covered with sheets. Smoke replaced stars. Loss. A neighbor sat beside rubble, rocking back and forth, calling a name that would never answer. Johann understood something then. War does not fight soldiers only. The decision. That night, Johann's mother packed again. Not neatly, quickly. They could not stay. The city was no longer a home. It was a target. The sky had fallen, and with it, the illusion that civilians were safe. The city did not say goodbye. It pushed them out. The exodus. At dawn, the roads filled with people. Not soldiers. Not heroes. Families. Old men pulling carts. Mothers carrying everything they owned. Children walking in silence far older than their age. Johann walked beside his mother, holding his sister's hand. They did not know where they were going, only that staying meant death. What they carried: a blanket, some bread, a family photograph, that was all. Everything else, the house, memories, furniture, childhood, was left behind under rubble. War teaches you quickly what truly matters, and what doesn't survive. The long walk. The road stretched endlessly. Feet bled. Shoulders ached. Some people sat down and never stood up again. No one had the strength to stop for long. The road was merciless. The sky returns. Aircraft appeared again. Everyone froze. People ran into ditches. Children screamed. But the planes passed. This time, no one celebrated. They knew better now. Hunger. By the second day, food was gone. Bread became crumbs. Crumbs became nothing. Johann gave his sister his last piece. He said he wasn't hungry. His stomach disagreed violently. The dead on the road. They passed bodies. Some covered, some not. No funerals, no prayers, just a glance, and walking forward. Stopping meant becoming one of them. A stranger's kindness. An old woman shared a potato. She smiled without teeth. "Eat," she said. "Children must live." Johann never forgot her face. In war, kindness shines brighter than fire. The night camp. They slept in fields. No tents, no fires. Cold wrapped around them like an enemy. Johann stayed awake, listening. Wind, crying, coughing, the sound of survival. The question. His sister whispered, "Are we going home?" Johann looked at the dark sky. He did not answer, because he knew home was gone. Realization. On that road, Johann understood the truth. War is not battles and medals. War is people walking until they break. They left as a family. They walked as survivors. They would arrive as something else entirely. The camp was not a place. It was a condition. Arrival. After days on the road, the refugees saw it from afar. Rows of torn tents. Smoke rising weakly. Barbed wire marking the edge of hope. This was not safety. This was survival postponed. The first smell. Before Johann even entered the camp, he smelled it. Mud. Human waste. Sickness. Cold bodies wrapped in old blankets. His mother tightened her grip on his sister's hand. "Stay close," she whispered. "People got lost here. Sometimes forever." No names, only numbers. At the entrance, guards shouted instructions. No one asked names. No one cared about stories. They were counted, registered, reduced. Johann became a number before he became a man. The tent. Their tent leaned to one side. The ground inside was wet. Rain seeped through holes. At night, the cold rose from the earth and climbed into bones. Sleep came in fragments. Dreams were sharp and cruel. Hunger returns. Food distribution happened once a day. A thin soup. Sometimes only hot water with floating shadows of vegetables. People fought silently with their eyes. Mothers pushed children forward. Johann learned to eat slowly, to make it last longer. The sick. Coughing echoed through the camp. Typhus, dysentery, fever. Doctors were overwhelmed. Medicine was rare. Some tents turned quiet overnight. In the morning, bodies were carried out. No ceremonies, just space being made. Loss. One night, Johann's sister stopped shivering. At first, he thought she was sleeping peacefully. Then he noticed her chest. Still, his mother did not scream. She sat frozen until morning. Grief had emptied her. The burial. There were no graves, just a pit behind the camp, small bodies wrapped in cloth. Johann did not cry. He had no tears left. Something inside him closed forever. Children who grew old. Children in the camp did not play. They watched. They learned who to avoid. They learned silence. They learned death early. Johann stopped being a child that week. The choice. One evening, an older boy spoke to Johann. "There are ways out," he said quietly. "Dangerous ways." Johann looked back at the tent, at his mother, hollow-eyed. Staying meant dying slowly. Leaving meant risking everything. The truth of war. In the camp, Johann learned the cruelest lesson. War doesn't end when guns fall silent. It continues in tents, hunger, and loss. The road took his home. The camp took his sister. What would war take next? The announcement came without warning. A truck stopped in the town square. A loudspeaker crackled. People gathered, curious, confused, uneasy. Johann stood at the edge of the crowd, his coat buttoned tight, eyes fixed forward. Then the words were spoken. Mobilization, curfew, mandatory service. War was no longer a rumor. It had a voice now. The shift in the air. Something changed instantly. People stopped whispering and started calculating. Who would be taken? Who would be left? Who would survive? Mothers clutched children closer. Old men stared at the ground. Young men avoided eye contact. No one wanted to be noticed. Uniforms and paperwork. Within days, uniforms replaced regular clothes. Papers arrived at doors, neatly folded, brutally final. Johann watched neighbors read their notices in silence. Some nodded, some shook, some tore the paper in anger, then picked it up again. There was no escape. The first night of fear. That night the town felt different. Shops closed early. Lights dimmed. Conversations died quickly. Johann sat at his table, listening to the radio. Speeches spoke of duty, honor, sacrifice. None spoke of fear. Outside, boots echoed on stone streets. Patrols, watching. The sirens. They sounded just before dawn. Long, wailing, unforgiving. People ran from their homes, half-dressed, half awake. Johann grabbed his coat and followed the crowd toward shelter. The sky roared. The first bombs. Explosions ripped through the outskirts of town. Windows shattered. Walls shook. Screams filled the darkness. Johann pressed against cold concrete underground, heart pounding. This wasn't training. This wasn't politics. This was real. The weight underground. Minutes stretched endlessly. Dust fell from the ceiling. A child cried until her mother covered her mouth. No one spoke. Every explosion felt like the last. Emerging into a new world. When the sirens stopped, people climbed out slowly. Smoke rose in the distance. Fires burned where houses once stood. Someone shouted a name. No answer came back. Johann saw his town wounded, but alive. For now. The morning after. Sunrise revealed damage no one could deny. Broken glass covered streets like ice. Shops stood open, empty. Blood stained the stones near the square. War had marked its territory. The realization. Johann understood something that morning. Life would never return to what it was. From now on, every decision would be about survival. Every sound would mean danger. Every goodbye might be final. War had officially entered their lives, not as soldiers, not as heroes, but as ordinary people trapped inside history. War did not just destroy cities, it rewrote morality. Leaving the camp, Johann left before dawn. No farewell. His mother understood without words. Sometimes love meant letting go, because staying meant death. He carried nothing valuable, only hunger, only fear, only the memory of his sister's still body. The broken city. The city beyond the camp looked alive, but only barely. Buildings stood like hollow skeletons. Windows stared like empty eyes. Smoke drifted constantly, even when there were no fires. This was where survival became business. The shadow market. At night, alleys filled with whispers, bread traded for watches, shoes traded for blankets, jewelry traded for soup. Money meant nothing. Only usefulness mattered. Johann learned quickly. Talk less, watch more, trust no one. Child labor. Children worked here, not in factories, on the streets, running messages, carrying crates, standing guard. Johann joined them. His payment was food, sometimes protection, sometimes nothing. The first line crossed. One night, a man handed Johann a small package. "Deliver this," he said. No questions. Johann knew what it was. Stolen supplies. If caught, punishment would be brutal. But hunger made decisions easier. He ran, heart pounding. Every shadow felt like a soldier. He delivered it. He ate that night. Guilt is a luxury. Johann hated himself, but he hated hunger more. Each day demanded a compromise. Lie a little, steal a little, look away a little. The war taught people this truth. Good men survive less often than flexible ones. Violence without guns. Sometimes fights broke out. Over bread, over space, over rumors. No one intervened. Violence had become normal. Quiet, quick, forgotten. Johann learned when to disappear. The old man. An elderly man noticed Johann's discipline. "You move like someone trained," he said. Johann shook his head. "I learned by watching," he replied. The old man nodded. Watching keeps you alive. He taught Johann routes, safe corners, bad people. Knowledge became armor. The moral collapse. Johann saw things he would never forget. Mothers trading family heirlooms for medicine. Men betraying neighbors for rations. Children lying with adult skill. War did not turn people evil. It removed the time to be good. A choice again. One night, Johann was offered more work, better food, more protection. But it meant hurting others. Not killing, worse, exploiting the desperate. Johann walked away. For the first time in months, he chose hunger over hatred. The cost of survival. That night, Johann slept cold. But he slept human. He realized something terrifying. Surviving the war was not enough. You had to survive yourself too. The city fed him. The city hardened him. The war was almost over. But Johann's battle had changed. The sound came slowly. Not explosions. Not gunfire. Silence. The strange quiet. For days, Johann noticed something was different. No sirens. No shelling. No running. The city felt frozen, like it was afraid to breathe. People stepped outside cautiously, as if noise itself might bring the war back. The announcement. Then came the news. Germany had fallen. The war was over. Some people cheered. Others stared blankly. A few collapsed to their knees. For Johann, the words felt unreal. How can it be over, he thought, when it took everything from us? Liberation did not feel like freedom. Foreign soldiers entered the city. They were greeted as heroes, but behind smiles were clenched fists and old hatred. Liberation came with confusion. Who was enemy now? Who was guilty? Who was innocent? No one knew. Revenge walks openly. Old scores surfaced. Neighbors accused neighbors. Women were dragged into streets for alleged collaboration. Men were beaten without trials. Justice had no uniform. Johann watched silently. He had learned not to look away, but also not to interfere. The return home. Johann walked back toward his old town. The road was familiar, yet broken. Houses collapsed. Fields burned. Graves marked with wooden crosses. His home stood, but empty. Too quiet. His mother never returned from the camp. There was no body, no goodbye, only absence. The weight of survival. Johann realized something cruel. He survived when others didn't. That was not victory. That was burden. At night, silence screamed louder than bombs ever had. Peace without healing. Food became more available. Trains started running. Life attempted to restart. But people were changed. Children flinched at loud sounds. Adults avoided eye contact. Laughter felt foreign. The war had ended, but it lived inside them. The question no one asked. Governments spoke of rebuilding, but no one asked, how do we rebuild souls? Johann saw veterans wandering aimlessly, civilians haunted by memories. The war had made everyone a survivor and a victim. A new kind of fight. Johann found work clearing rubble, brick by brick, day after day. Rebuilding felt meaningless at first, then necessary. If he didn't build something new, the ruins would win. Understanding. One evening, Johann stood atop a broken building. The sun set behind shattered rooftops. He understood now. The war had taken his childhood. The war had taken his family. But it would not take his future, not if he refused. The guns were silent. But the hardest battle, living afterward, had just begun. Years passed, quietly, without explosions, without sirens. But the war never truly left. The passage of time. Johann grew older in a world that pretended to be normal again. Cities were rebuilt, roads repaired. Children were born who never heard bombs fall. To them, World War II became a chapter in books. To Johann, it was a wound that never closed. The New World. Germany changed. New governments, new borders, new promises. But memories had no borders. Johann worked, married, raised children. He smiled when expected. He stayed silent when not. At night, the past returned, not as dreams, as feelings. Survivor's guilt. Why him? Why did he live when his sister didn't? Why did he escape when his mother didn't return? There were no answers, only questions that aged with him. Survival felt undeserved. The silence between words. Johann never spoke much about the war. When asked, he said only, "It was complicated. How do you explain hunger to someone full? Fear to someone safe? Loss to someone untouched? Some experiences cannot be translated." The next generation. One evening, his son asked, "Father, were you brave during the war?" Johann thought for a long time. Then he replied, "No, I was afraid. Every day." His son looked confused. Johann placed a hand on his shoulder. "Bravery isn't the absence of fear," he said. "It's choosing not to let fear decide who you become." Return to the memorial. Decades later, Johann stood before a memorial. Names carved in stone. Too many. Some he remembered. Most he didn't. But each name represented a life interrupted, a future erased. He placed a small flower at the base, not for soldiers, for civilians, for children, for the unnamed. The true cost of war. War is often told through generals and victories, but its true story lives elsewhere, in empty chairs at dinner tables, in towns that vanished, in people who never fully returned home. World War II was not just history. It was humanity tested and often broken. The lesson. Johann realized something important near the end of his life. The war taught him hate easily, but peace required effort. Every day, choosing kindness, choosing restraint, choosing memory over revenge. Forgetting was dangerous. Remembering was responsibility. The final years. As his body weakened, his memories sharpened. He remembered the last normal day, the camp, the hunger, the silence after the guns stopped. He remembered who he was before and who he became after. The last thought. On his final evening, Johann looked out the window. Children were playing in the street, laughing, free. He smiled softly. The world had survived, and somehow, so had he. Her final words. World War II did not end in 1945. It lives on, in lessons, in warnings, in memories passed down. This story is not about heroes. It is about people.